So initially I told you, right, this particular job analysis is where we take inputs for job design, and that is basically a theoretical, entire theoretical concept where, entire data collection it takes place. That means, see, I'm not telling that, that job analysis part exists only on paper. That's why, I'm calling it theoretical part. No, basically I'm telling that, see, that entirely relates to theoretical, point of view, whereas this particular job design is where you convert whatever ideas you have into reality. That is also reality. There also you're doing works, okay? There also you're going out, you're collecting information, all these things. But I'm just, referring you so that you could understand, telling that, that is a kind of theoretical thing. Whereas this job design is like, actually putting, the plan into action, the implementation part, okay? So basically I told you, right? There are, we do this particular, this conversion of, theoretical concepts into reality, or theoretical concepts into practicality, or basically this implementation part, in job design, right? So how are you going to actually put that particular changes in the job required into reality? See, for this only we have a particular concept called as methods of job design, where we will be looking after different methods where you will actually structurize or restructurize a particular job. That means we are going to look after different methods, how you are actually, in simple words, going to bring a change in a job, or going to bring a change in how a job should function, which is different from the way it used to function. Okay, this is the particular topic called as methods of job design. Now let's look at the theory, and we will also be having an explanation with an example for each and every technique. So back to the theory, different methods of job design. So see, we will be having these, these methods of job design. The first one is job rotation, we have job enlargement, we have job enrichment. Now keep this in mind, these particular two things are there, right? Job enlargement and job enrichment, these are the most confusing thing. That means most of the people get confused. Now you also have something called as employee empowerment, you have something called as job crafting, dejobbing, and flex work schedules. Okay, we will be looking after each and everything along with examples. So see, the first one, job rotation. Now, what do you mean by job rotation? In simple terms, job rotation means rotating a person between different jobs which are similar in nature. Now, I can't take a operations manager and keep him in the role of a marketing manager, or keep him in the role of a CEO and tell that this is job rotation. No, basically, job rotation is rotating the employee, or rotating the person who is performing the job through a series of, or it may be a single or many different jobs. But basically here what you're doing is, job rotation is a process, or a job rotation is a method where you shift this particular employee to different jobs which are similar in nature. For example, if I take a HR manager, okay, see, basically a HR manager, initially has all the subject knowledge, or has all the training to deal with all the different aspects relating to a particular human resource, each and every function of human resource, right? For example, a HR manager knows how to take care of recruitment, he knows how to take care of compensation, he knows how to take care of training and development. But since considering the workload of, or in this way, considering different factors, generally in organizations, what they do is they assign one function to a HR manager, telling that since we have like 10,000 or 20,000 different employees, we are putting you as a HR manager for recruitment, HR manager for compensation, HR manager for performance management. But there will also be so many different organizations where they will only be 10 to 15 employees, where one HR manager will be taking care of each and every function of human resource. Now let's consider this example of the first one. The organization is very large, it has like so many different, or a very large workforce, 10,000, 20,000, in this way. Now see, job rotation here is, this particular HR manager, initially he is for recruitment. Now after a period of 6 months, or after a period of 1 year, what I'll do is I'll take him, and then I will shift him to human resource manager for legal complaints. Then again after 6 months or 1 year, what I'll do is I'll take him from there, from legal complaint. Initially was recruitment, then after 6 months or 1 year, I shifted him to human resource manager, for legal complaints. Now what I'll do, after 6 months or 1 year, what I'll do, I'll again shift him to human resource manager for training and development. In this way, job rotation is where you are basically rotating an employee through a series of different jobs which are related. Here in this particular job rotation, there is no need to learn new skills. You are just learning different ways in which you can apply your that particular subject knowledge in different ways. That is basically job rotation, right? Now that is the first method of job design, that is job rotation. Now let's move to the second and third concepts. We'll be discussing both the concepts at the same time, because this is one concept where most of the people get confused. Job enrichment, job enlargement. See, let me give you a simple theoretical example. See, if you're a sales guy and you produce 10 mobiles per month, if you're a sales guy and you produce 10 mobiles per month, now suddenly the organization increased your production. That means initially sales guy 10 mobiles per month, from this month, or from today or from next month, your this 10 is there, this 10 number that you are basically producing, or basically your initial target. Now what they do is, the organization calls and tells that, see, till now you have to produce only 10 mobiles per month, right? From now on, or from next month or next week, whatever it is, from now on you have to produce 20 mobiles per month. Now what happened here? His workload increased. Is there any new thing that he's doing apart from increased workload, new kind of activity, new kind of new kind of roles and responsibilities? The only thing changed here is the workload. He initially used to deal with 10 mobiles, now he's dealing with 20 mobiles. No new subject knowledge is required. The only change here is the workload. This is one scenario. Keep this entire thing apart, keep this here, okay, keep this aside. Now let's talk about a second scenario. See, let's take a same example that we previously discussed in job rotation. There is this particular human resource manager. Initially, while joining the company, he was trained to trained in each and every function of human resource. Okay, keep that aside. Now there is this position of human resource manager, right? Now let us assume that he initially takes care of only recruitment. Now the organization called him and told that, telling that see, from now on, or from tomorrow, or from next week, or next month, basically whatever it is, from now on you were only looking after recruitment. Please take care of training and development also. Now here also, what happened? His workload increased, but here his workload did not increase in the same thing. That means the organization did not tell that you were looking after recruitment, right? In recruitment only you try to recruit more number of people. No, in this particular example, in the second scenario, what happened? They actually assigned him some other task, but which is relevant. Yes or no? Which is relevant. Is there any new training or new course or new skill that he requires? No, he is basically here applying. So here what happened in the second scenario? Here also workload increased, but in a related activity. Now bring in these two scenarios. In the first scenario, it was just the increase in workload. In the second scenario, it was increase in workload, but in a related activity. Now these two things are the example of job enlargement. Job enlargement means enlarging a particular job, in terms of workload. Now, in these terms of workload, increase in the workload, we can tell that this particular workload can be increased in one area or a related aspect. Okay, that's why I gave you this example of two different scenarios. This is basically the example of job enlargement. Now, moving on to job enrichment. Now, job enrichment is the job enrichment is a concept which has a much wider scope than job enlargement, and this is the general bit. Job enrichment is considered as one of the most important qualities for leaders in organizations. Okay, now coming back to job enrichment. What do you mean by job enrichment? We have discussed about job enlargement, right? That means basically enlarging a particular job. Now job enrichment, here you are basically increasing the scope of an entire job. For example, see, let's take the same example that we have discussed in job enlargement. Okay, there is a second scenario, right? Human resource manager, he used to deal with recruitment. Now the organization assigned him extra roles and responsibilities relating to the same thing. That means initially was recruitment. Now the organization called him and told that you take care of the training and development also. That means the same thing, the relevant same relevant task, but extra workload relating to relevant tasks. Okay, that is the scenario. Now we move to this concept of job enrichment. For example, in the organization, there is this HR manager who takes care only after recruitment, or who takes care basically, everything related to recruitment. Now, if the organization calls this particular employee or this particular human resource manager and it tells that, okay, you have been looking after recruitment till now, from now on, or from today, or from tomorrow, or from next week, and all these things, we are thinking to involve you into operations also. Okay, apart from human resource management, that means apart from human resource department, organization is also thinking to involve this particular manager into operations. maybe the organization thought that this person is a very skilled employee, so he has the potential, or he has the capability to handle more than more than one department and all these things. So basically the organization may have concluded telling that, okay, till now he is into human resource department, let us involve him in operations department also. The reasons may be that depends on the organization's choice and organization decision. But let us take an example where the organization came to a decision telling that, okay, this particular human resource manager should also be involved into the company's operations department or operations part. Okay, now training is required, right? This person, this human resource manager, is basically his expertise and each and everything is in human resource management. Now the organization is basically planning to involve this particular person into operations department also, right? Now that requires certain skills, right? See, initially this person is trained in human resource management operations, right? Now basically human resource management operations means everything related to human resource management. Now the organization is is planning to involve this particular candidate in the company's operations department or operations part also, right? Now this particular person should be trained again, right? That means new set of skills has to be imparted into this particular pre-existing human resource manager, right? Then only he can go and perform in the operations department, right? See, since he is the human resource manager, he is trained in almost each and every aspect. That means each and every aspect, not even almost, he is particularly trained in each and every aspect related to human resource management. Now this particular organization is planning to involve this particular person into operations part also. Then he has only human resource skills, expertise and all these things. So the company has to give him special training or impart him certain skills relating to operations part also, right? So this particular new skills or new training required and all these things were not there in in job enlargement, right? There he is basically trying out different activities where his application part varies. That means he is using the same concept, same skill, same same subject matter, he is applying in different relevant things. Okay, now here, whereas when we come to job enrichment, here new set of skills are involved, right? New training, training is required, right? And all these things, right? So this is basically job enrichment, where you basically increase the roles and responsibilities relating to non-relative things. There relative things, here mostly non-relative things. That means here basically you are basically increasing the scope of the job. You are entirely bringing in new components, and you are basically increasing the scope of the job. This is basically one method which is called as job enrichment, and the previous one was job enlargement. Most of the people get confused between job enlargement and job enrichment. So relating to this to the entire concept of job design, for example, if the organization wants to change a particular job, telling that, okay, we need a particular job which is involved in both human resource and operations. And if the organization if the scenario happens as this particular example, telling that if the organization finds an employee capable, or he organization comes to a conclusion telling that that particular person has the potential to deal with two different kinds of functions in the organizations, like human resource management and operations management, then the particular organization wants a particular job, right? That means it needs a job specification, it needs the job description which has all the roles and responsibilities that this particular new job which is involved in both human resource management and operations management should do, and all these things, right? So in in job analysis you prepare all that thing, whereas when you come to this job design, when it is the time to convert that particular theoretical thing into reality or practicality, what they'll do is they'll just use this concept of job enrichment. Okay, so this is how these particular job design methods are basically used. So this is the third method, job enrichment. So till now we have discussed the first method, job rotation, the second method, job enlargement, and the third method, job enrichment. Now let's move on to the next method, which is employee empowerment. Employee empowerment is just like giving the employee the authority to take his own decisions. That means you are basically trying, it's a kind of decentralization. Okay, that means you're empowering the empowering the employees in taking their own decisions, being responsible for their own actions and all these things. This is also a kind of job design. That means here also you're basically kind of restructuring the way a job used to function, right? So that is employee empowerment. So the next method in the methods of job design is job crafting. Now what do you mean by job crafting? See, employee initiated activity, remember this in mind, this is a kind of different method when compared to each and every other method. Employee initiated activity or employee initiated method which involves shaping the working environment to fit individuals' needs. Now, what do you mean by this? See, remember, I told you this is a kind of different method when compared to each and every other method. See, basically, this particular method, which is job crafting, is an employee initiated activity or an employee initiated method. Now, what do I mean by an employee initiated activity, or basically what do you mean by this particular job crafting method? Let's take a simple example. For example, let us assume that you are a software employee in an organization which basically performs or basically functions on different projects from clients on C programming platform, and in some cases other platforms like Java, Python and all these things, and you are an employee, and there is this rule in the organization telling that yes, most of the time we work on C programming, but each and every employee at least once he has to work on other platforms apart from C programming like Java or Python, whatever it is, but each and every employee at least minimum once, okay, at least once you have to work on a different platform. Now, for example, you are an employee, right? Now it is your time to work on a different platform project. So for example, there is this client who has a project, but that project runs on Java. Okay, since you have to work on a project which is other than C language, so you looked at this project, easy project, small project. You thought of choosing that particular client's project, so you went for interview, you got selected. That means that particular project is assigned to you. Now you are about to work on a project or for a client which is on Java platform. Till now you have been working on C programming. After this particular project, you will again go back to C programming. Only for this particular project you are about to work on Java platform. Now there are two ways in which you can perceive this. You can either think that okay, it's a small project, easy project, the Java, the skills and the knowledge required in the particular Java field also are not too much. I'll just learn all only the things which are related to Java to complete this project. I'll just learn some basics, I'll complete this project, and I'll again happily go back to C programming. This is one way in which you can think. There is this second way in which you can think, where you can actually perceive telling that okay, till now I have been learning, or I have been working on only one platform. Now I think that this is an opportunity for me in order to expand my career, or expand my knowledge, subject knowledge. So what do you think? You look at this particular situation as an opportunity, as a chance, telling that okay, this is my opportunity, so I will try to learn this particular Java as much as possible, so that I could add an extra skill in my resume, or I could add extra weightage to my career. So you look at this as an opportunity, and you learn this particular language. Now these are the two ways in which you perceive, right? So basically, the first perception you'll be having this, I'll just basically learn all the basics, I'll finish the project, and I'll come back to my original software platform, C language. There is the second way in which you look at this as an opportunity. Now see, put the stress on the second scenario, or second situation. Now you are basically framing, or you are basically converting this situation into something in order to in order to fulfill your needs, right? That means you are shaping this particular situation, you are shaping this particular environment in order to fulfill or satisfy your needs, right? Now what are your needs in this particular example? To add weightage to your career or your resume, or to learn a new skill, right? Okay, leave this is one example. Now shaping an environment so that it fits to your individual needs can also be represented by doing certain things like changing the way you interact with others, changing the way you perform a particular job. Here basically job crafting means you are basically taking the job environment or situation, and you are molding, or you are basically changing that particular situation in a way that it satisfies your personal needs, right? So this is basically job crafting, simple method. If you are still confused, you can post in comments. I'll try to bring in more examples relating to this particular concept, job crafting. Okay, now let's move on to the next method, which is called as dejobbing. Okay, now dejobbing is also one method of job design, where you structurize or restructurize the job, which is, see, dejobbing means structuring the organization not around jobs but around projects that are constantly changing. That means shifting from formal JDs to more. See, till now, what have we discussed in job analysis, or in the basics of job design? We told that, see, let's talk about job analysis. We told that in job analysis, we collect information, complete information regarding all the aspects related to a particular job. And what we do, we come out with job specification, job description, and all these things, right? Now, what is job description? We basically told that job description describes the particular job's roles, responsibilities, expected things from this particular job and all these things, right? So this particular dejobbing means moving away from this system of job description and all to a a different system. Like for example, see, in the present scenario, there are so many organizations which use this dejobbing. That means, see, what do I mean by moving away from formal JDs and all these things is, for example, let's take a software company. Okay, for example, let's take a software company. In this particular software company, using, if they are using this dejobbing means, this company will not tell that there is this particular role of software engineer where you have to come and you have to work on C programming, you have to you have to do this, you have to do that in this way, structured way. You will not be having when you're talking about dejobbing. Here in dejob, if an organization is using this particular dejobbing in in this particular software software engineer role, or a software associate role, how it looks is, see, this particular organization will tell that we are a software company, we are an IT company, we deal with all the software products and all. Now we may deal with C language, C platform related projects, or Java platform related projects, or Python related projects. So the employees who are willing to enter this position have to be trained in different languages, and the more languages the more preferable you are in order to fill into this particular position. So this particular method where you don't have, or basically you don't follow the formal job description, but you revolve around the constantly changing environment, or the constantly changing the job market. Okay, basically the job market, constantly changing job market, or constantly changing roles and all these things, is basically called as the method called as dejobbing, where you basically shift from the formal JDs, job descriptions, into a much more evolved manner, where the jobs are not limited to a particular job description, but they are it's like being open minded in terms of in terms of the environment. So this is basically the method of dejobbing, right? Now let's move on to the last method of this particular job design, which is called as flexible work schedules. Okay, see, flexible work schedules, these methods we will be looking each and every day in our daily life, or in normal jobs. Okay, so basically within this method of flexible work schedules, you have so many different sub methods. That means, for example, this particular flexible work schedules can be done through so many different things. Like you have something called as flex time. Okay, like see, here also we are talking about changing the way how the job used to be. For example, there is this particular role of the human resource manager. Now if you want to if you want to bring a change in that particular job, one of the methods that you can use is this particular flexible work schedules, and within that there is a sub method called as flex times, where you try to assign flexible times to that particular job, which was not present initially. For example, initially this particular human resource manager has to come to the office at 10 a.m. and has to leave the office at 5 p.m. Now if you want to change that particular timing system, that means if you want to change how that particular job used to be, then one of the method that you can use in this particular different methods of job design is flex time, where you can actually bring the flexibility in the time schedules. For example, see, initially 10 to 5 means you are present in the office for 7 hours. Now after implementing this particular method, I am telling that okay, from now on you can come to office whenever you want, but you have to leave only after 7 hours, or that means only after being 7 hours in the office. In this way I am bringing flexibility to the work timings, right? So that is this method called as flex time. Okay, where you bring flexibility in the time. One of the methods under, or basically one of the sub methods under the main method, flexible work schedules, where you're trying to bring flexibility in the work schedules. And one of the method is flex times, where you bring flexibility in the timings, timings of operations of the particular job. Now the second method is under flexible work schedules is telecommuting, which is in simple terms work from home. Telecommuting is actually the professional term for work from home. Okay, now you also have something called as compressed work week, where there is a chance, or there is an opportunity for the employees where they can compress their work. For example, the employer can tell that, see, for every week, that means per 1 week I need 30 working hours. Okay, now the basic requirement by the organization is each and every employee has to work for 30 hours in 1 week. 1 week means basically Monday to Saturday. That means six working days. the organization is expecting 30 hours of work from each and every employee in this 6-day period. That means in 1 week. Okay, so now compressed work week means there is an option for the employees to compress their work weeks. Now, for example, 30 hours is the requirement. 6 days you have. Now, you can either work for 5 hours a day for 6 days, or you can basically compress your work, like telling that I will only work for 5 days. That means I will work for, or basically I will be present in the office and work for 6 hours a day, and that will complete my requirement of 30 hours in 5 days. So I'm compressing my work. Or I can just tell that every day I will work for 10 hours, for 3 days I will work, the remaining week I will take a week off, or basically I will take a leave for remaining week, since I have completed my entire thing. In this way, compressed work weeks is where the employees are provided with the option of compressing the work week, or where that particular job has this particular feature or the option of compressing in terms of weeks. Okay, now the last method in this particular flexible work schedules method of different methods of job design is job sharing, where basically a single job is shared between two or more individuals, so that it would be easy, and each and every employee may feel it's less burden, or they may be involved in new tasks and all these things. So this is basically the method of job sharing. So these are the different methods of job design, right?